now we're going to go ahead and create a proposed grade line based on our surface. So what we're trying to do is figure out what we want the ground to look like. Usually we start with our center line and build outward. So I'm going to say that we're going to try to cut a little bit of this site, and then we're going to end up filling this end of the site. All right. So if you come up here to Home and then Profile, and you're going to use Profile Creation Tools here. This is how I'm going to build my site. Now down here it says select profile view that you're creating. So I have to pick on the grid. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to call it Street A. Okay, I'm going to leave it as design, and I'm going to leave this as default and go OK. We can always change our mind later. Now I'm going to create, let's say I have to start at this bare beginning, that this grade right here where it starts is the elevation of the ground that I have to start with. So I'm tying into existing grade. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw a tangent with curves. So it's going to put a vertical curve in there for me. I could draw tangents without the vertical curves, but I'm going to go ahead and make our lives a little bit simpler. So I'm going to click here at the end point, and I'm going to say, I've got my snaps on, so I'm going to leave my, I like to set elevations, highs and lows based on stationing, because it makes construction a little bit easier. So I'm going to say I am going to come down here, and if I'm looking at this, let me exit out of that, escape out of that. First, let me talk to you about drainage. Typically when we lay out drainage, we want our inlets across the street from one another. So if water drains, it's going to go to a curb inlet, and the curb inlet needs to be on the lot line, this line here or this line here. We try to have them aligned so that when you put a big old structure in, then it doesn't impede somebody's driveway. So what I'm going to do here is I can see that I'm going downhill. I'm going to set an inlet at and in between here. So let me draw a polyline and go snap and snap. Now I want to set the low point in equidistance between here. And how do I know the stationing of that? I'll show you. You can measure it with a scale if this was printed out, but we don't have a scale available right now. So I'm going to use the annotate. I'm going to add labels, and when this pops up, I'm going to go to alignment, and I'm going to go station offset. I'm going to add it, and I'm going to add it to this alignment here, and I am going to snap to either the midpoint or the intersection. Shift right click, apparent intersection right there. So that station where I want my low point is going to be 15, I'm just going to round it to 13, 15, 13, okay? So I'm going to come back over here and close that. Now I want an absolute low point at 15, 13, somewhere down here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I've already got my tool. If this tool isn't here, no worries. Go to the Home tab, Profile, Profile Creation Tools, click the grid that you want to work in. Go ahead and call it Street A because I escaped out of it. Go OK. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to draw tangents. I'm going to snap to this endpoint, and I'm going to snap. I'm just going to take my snaps off. I'm going to arbitrarily pick a point, and then I'm going to, let's say I am tying into existing ground. Okay. Now these are my PVIs. I've got 1% coming down. What I forgot to change was the vertical curve. So I'm just going to undo that. Sometimes you can't undo as much as you want. So Profile Creation Tools, click on the profile. Because I escaped and undid, I don't have this still set up. So Street A, I am going to draw tangents with curves. Endpoint, I'm going to turn my snaps off. Pick a point some over here. I don't even care where, because I am going to use a grid to fix it. So now you can see my vertical curve. Vertical curves, if you remember your transportation classes, vertical curves are based on the speed of the road. So I am going to arbitrarily leave mine here. The speed of the road should be 25 miles per hour. If you look at the Florida Green Book, 25 miles per hour times 3 times its speed is 105, right? So I am going to, I'm sorry, 75. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, that's not right. I'm going to change this vertical curve and I'm going to change the low point. So here is how you do that. So I've got my profile, and you don't want a really steep grade. And let's say you only want to bring it down about a foot or so below grade. So right now I can see this existing elevation right here is 79. So I'm going to make my elevation a 78. So click on that, and you're going to look at the grid. So I'm going to click on this. This button here will allow a grid setup. So click on that, make sure you've clicked on your proposed profile, click on the little green dot. It looks like a grid format in the newer versions. So I'm going to change this elevation. We said we were going to do 15, 13, and the elevation is 78. Okay, so now that we have the profile done, let's think about this. Now, if this is the low point, and I said I wanted the low point to be at 5813, look at where the low point is. It's at 1502 plus and minus. All right. So what you can do is you can actually pull out your calculator and do your math, or you can cheat a little. So I'm going to do a P line. Turn my O snaps back on from endpoint and go F8 to get my ortho on. Offset 13. I use a spreadsheet to do the calculations, but you can do it this way also. So also note that your profile, if I measured between here, and here, that's 100 feet, 1450 and 1550, right? 100 feet. But if I measured the alignment here, or not alignment, but the vertical elevation from here to here, endpoint to endpoint, it's 50. So there's an exaggeration of 10, okay? So if it's an exaggeration of 10, I have to offset 10 feet to get a 1 foot. So I am going to draw a polyline from here, and I've got my ortho on, and I'm going to uncheck that. Oops, I want my ortho, but I don't want my O snap. Sorry about that. To here. Now I'm going to copy this. You can't offset align profiles if it's at an angle. So I'm going to say 10, okay? And 20. So there's 78, there's 79, there's 80, right? So what I'm looking for is to get this low point, the lowest point, from the 1502 to the 1502 to 1513. Now I'm going to show you a trick. So I'm going to click on the profile. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to look at the profile style. I want to look at the markers, and I want to look at the low point. It needs a marker so I can see where that low point is. And that marker can be just your basic and the high point and basic. I can change these later. Apply and OK. All right. So what I'm seeing is that's awfully small, but there's my low point right there. So I'm going to do that again because that's tiny. So I'm going to go Edit Profile Style, and let's this time click on the marker, and let's say circle with the cross. And I'm going to do circle with the cross, and I'm going to change that to 0.2. Apply. Ooh, that's a bit big. 0.12. Apply. Okay, I'm going to go back to that basic. Woo! Apply. Now let's go 0.2. Apply. Oh, it's not working like I was thinking. All right. I'm just going to leave it with the cross just so I can see it. I'll clean it up later. Okay, so to make this, I want this circle here down here at this intersection. So I'm going to grip edit this. So I'm going to grab that, and you have to click on this triangle in the center. Now watch what happens. I can pull it. I'm going to turn my snaps off and my ortho off. I can pull it to the side. It's not dragging like I anticipate. Sorry about that, guys. Pull it down. Oh, it's because, okay, let me change one more thing. I don't have enough room. So what I mean is I can't drag it to the side because I only have this much tangent left. So I'm going to click on the grid information. I'm going to change that to, like I said, I'm going to change that to 75. Now I have room to move this over to where I want it. So now I can see the circle like that. Okay, so now I can see it 78 and 1513. Now, if you had an Excel sheet and you could set up your calculations, you could get it exact. But this is good enough because when the contractors are building it, it's not going to be 100%. If it's a 10th or even 100th off, then right now it's good enough for learning purposes. All right. Once you get into construction, you'll understand a little bit more what tolerance is allowed for your as-builts. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these lines. I like to have, some people don't show this symbol on theirs. I like to have it so I know that my low point is exactly where I want it. Okay. Now, so now I've got a profile and I can see that this is what the existing grade is and this is what the proposed grade is, right? So I'm going to take a look at this information down here. Down here we have the existing grade and we have the proposed grade. Well, the proposed grade isn't updated. So I'm going to click on this information here. I'm just going to click on the text. And I'm going to look at the profile view properties again. Look at the bands. That's what it's called at the bottom. You're going to change the second profile to Street A. Capital Street A. Apparently I've got it multiple times in there. So if you did like I did and you have multiple streets in there, you should only have one proposed. What that means, I'm going to close my tool space so y'all can see how to get there in case your tool space disappears. Up here in tool space, you have surface alignments, yada, yada, yada. The profile is underneath the alignments because the profile is built off the alignment. It's underneath Street A and there is profile. If I click on this one, it is Street A, all caps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take on this one, I'm going to delete it. And it's still there. All right. So we know we have our slope set. All right. So that's it for our proposed and our existing ground profile. The next thing I want to show you is how to build a corridor.